Welcome to another explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through this today because we are looking at one of the most uniquely, captivating, rewarding, and honestly kind of misunderstood freshwater species out there, the Bristlenose Pleco. Now today we're putting animal welfare front and center. We aren't just going to talk about how to keep this fish barely alive, we're going to learn exactly how to help it truly thrive. So let's just dive right into it.
If you think a Pleco is just a glorified tank cleaner, well, you definitely aren't alone. But it's time to completely flip that script. It is such a common misconception to view these incredibly fascinating fish as merely a cleanup crew, just tossed into a tank to scrub algae off the glass. But in reality, they are complex, dynamic pets that require dedicated, specialized care to live their best lives. They're not the janitors of your aquarium, they are the main event. And here's why that's so absolutely crucial. Bringing a Bristlenose Pleco into your home is a serious long-term commitment. With the right care, the right environment, and a proper diet, these guys can live for a decade, or honestly, even longer. 10 years is a massive chunk of time, so getting their care right from day one is just essential for their long-term health and happiness.
Okay, here's our game plan for today's explainer. 1. Meet the Bristlenose Pleco. 2. The ideal tank setup. 3. Diet and tank mates. 4. Health and maintenance. 5. Responsible breeding considerations. And finally, a final care checklist.
Starting right off with Section 1, meet the Bristlenose Pleco.
So how do you actually tell the boys from the girls? Well, it all comes down to those iconic, fleshy facial tentacles once they mature. Males develop these really large bristles, whiskers, and spikes all over their heads and fins. Females, on the other hand, are much smoother operators, with only small tentacles that are limited entirely to the snout area. And if you're raising babies, they'll actually start developing these tough skin bristles about 2 months after they're born.
But beyond the bristles, these fish are literal masters of camouflage. They're built with these flat bodies covered in tough, bony armor plates. During the day, their murky brown, gray, or olive coloring, usually sprinkled with white or yellow spots, helps them blend flawlessly into the background, making them almost invisible. They're pretty lazy when the sun is up, just hiding out in caves. But once those tank lights go out, boom! That's when their nocturnal foraging kicks into high gear and they become incredibly active.
Moving right along to Section 2, the ideal tank setup.
We really need to draw a line between surviving and thriving here. A survival setup might just be some tiny bare minimum tank with a sprinkle of thin gravel and stagnant water. But we want a thriving habitat. That means setting a baseline of 30 to 40 gallons of space for a single Pleco, and you'll want to add 10 more gallons for each additional fish. They need a deep, 3-inch clay-based substrate topped with fine gravel, because they absolutely love to burrow and vacuum the floor. Plus, you've got to give them a fast-flowing current and heavy filtration to mimic those energetic Amazonian rivers they naturally call home.
Let's talk about the exact water parameters you need to keep them stress-free. You're aiming for a sweet spot in temperature right between 73 and 81 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 23 to 27 degrees Celsius. Your pH level should be slightly acidic to neutral, so anywhere from 5.7 to 7.8, with a water hardness of 2 to 20 DGH. The main takeaway here is that a reliable water heater is completely non-negotiable. Consistent tropical temperatures are a must, because fluctuating or cold water will quickly leave you with a highly stressed, sick fish. Now, decor isn't just to make the tank look pretty for us. It is a core part of their well-being. Natural driftwood is literally a non-negotiable dietary and environmental necessity for them to rasp on. And since they are daytime hiders, providing dark caves and hollowed-out decorations is a must. Just make sure everything is heavy and secure, so it won't collapse when your Pleco decides to burrow underneath it. For plants, stick to tough, deeply rooted ones like Java fern, Amazon sword, or wisteria. Delicate plants will just get completely uprooted by a foraging bristlenose.
All right, jumping into Section 3, diet and tank mates.
Okay, let's bust a massive myth right now. Your tank will absolutely not produce enough natural algae to keep a Bristlenose Pleco fed. They literally cannot survive on just tank algae. What they actually need is a varied diet, breaking down to about 60% high-quality sinking algae wafers. Then 25% should be blanched, fresh vegetables. Think spinach or zucchini. And the last 15% needs to be protein, like sinking bloodworms. You'll want to feed them twice a day, ideally right before the lights go out, and always make sure the food sinks straight to the bottom where they can actually get to it. Because they spend pretty much all their time peacefully grazing down at the bottom, they make fantastic community citizens. The ideal tank mates are peaceful mid- and top-dwelling fish.
We're talking guppies, neon tetras, corydoras, and gouramis. They also do wonderfully with non-fish tank mates like snails and shrimp. Since they pretty much stay out of everyone's way, they rarely cause any drama in a properly sized tank.
I do have to give you a quick heads up though. Never house more than one male per tank unless you've got a massive aquarium with endless hiding spots, because they are incredibly territorial with other males and they will fight. Also, if you happen to have the really gorgeous long-finned variation of the bristlenose, keep them far away from known fin-nipping fish like tiger barbs or angelfish.
Let's look at Section 4, Health and Maintenance.
Generally speaking, Bristlenose Plecos are pretty hardy, but you have to keep a close eye out for two main visual warning signs of disease. The first is itch, which is this nasty parasitic disease that looks like tiny white sprinkles all over the fish's body. If they have it, you'll see them acting super lethargic and rubbing themselves against rough surfaces. The second one is dropsy, which is a symptom of a bacterial infection that causes severe abdominal bloating, bulging eyes, dull fins, and pale feces. If you spot either of these, you need to jump into immediate quarantine and treatment.
Of course, the best medicine is always prevention, and that totally comes down to a strict maintenance routine. Step 1, maintain really powerful filtration. Plecos are notoriously messy eaters, and they produce a massive amount of waste, which we call a high bioload. Step 2, perform regular 25% water changes so that water quality stays pristine. Step 3, watch their coloring. If your normally dark, patterned pleco suddenly looks pale or totally washed out, that's your prime indicator of stress, poor water quality, or an underlying sickness.
Next up is Section 5, Responsible Breeding Considerations.
The breeding cycle is actually super fascinating, and it's heavily male-driven. It usually kicks off when the water temperature cools down just a bit, dropping to around 72 degrees Fahrenheit. First, the male selects and diligently cleans out a dark cave. When a female approaches, if she likes what he's done with the place, she'll lay a cluster of bright orange sticky eggs on the walls and floor. After that, the male fertilizes them and takes over completely. He fiercely guards and fans those eggs for up to 10 days until they hatch. He's basically dad of the year.
But here is exactly why you have to be incredibly responsible with this. A single spawn can easily yield over 50 fry, and these babies are independent right from birth. They immediately start requiring space, resources, and food. You absolutely have to have a solid plan for rehoming dozens of fry, whether that means setting up secondary tanks or coordinating with your local fish store. Without a plan, your tank is going to suffer from dangerous overcrowding, massive ammonia spikes, and a total collapse of your water parameters.
Wrapping things up with Section 6, Final Care Checklist.
Let's do a quick recap. Here is your non-negotiable Thrive checklist to give your Bristlenose Pleco a spectacular, welfare-first life. First, start with a 30 to 40-gallon minimum tank size. Second, you must include real, natural driftwood for their digestion. Third, provide a deep, clay-based substrate so they can burrow naturally. Fourth, feed them a targeted, varied, sinking diet of wafers, fresh veggies, and protein. And lastly, ensure you have powerful filtration running to handle their significant bioload. So I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. Is your tank truly ready to let a Bristlenose Pleco thrive, or is it basically just set up for them to survive? I really encourage you to use what we've talked about today to evaluate and maybe even upgrade your own setup right now. These are incredible creatures that'll absolutely reward you with years of fascinating behavior as long as you give them the environment they deserve. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next explainer.